Alright guys, so this is going to be my Ghost Rider Q&A. I set up the questions over on Patreon, and if you'd like to send me questions for Patreon videos, for when I do these Q&As, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, you guys can hit the second tier, and you guys can just sending me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. But anyway, so, everyone asked me like at least 3 questions each, so we're going to be doing that. I'd like to thank everyone for sending me questions, and without further ado, let's get started with Jason Voorhees 2011, who asks, what non-comic characters could you see being swayed by Mephisto into becoming the Ghost Rider? I would say it'd be kind of fun to see like a Revy from Black Lagoon Ghost Rider. I think she would there would be a lot of, it'd be kind of like, almost like what originally Cosmic Ghost Rider was before he went crazy. I kind of imagine that. I also think, as for other characters I could see as Ghost Rider, Revy's really the big one that comes to mind for me for being Ghost Rider. But for others, I could see maybe... maybe Ulrich from Code Lyoko. I think if you could, like Mephisto could dig at him enough, I think you could get a deal out of him. But those are the ones that are coming to mind. I know there's better ones out there, but those are the ones that are coming to mind. So, next question. Thoughts on Frank Castle as Cosmic Ghost Rider? I really like it. I really dug the Cosmic Ghost Rider. I think he's a lot of fun. I think it's a better version of of what most people think Deadpool comics should be, is just dumb fun. Sorry, I gotta get some water. I think it's a lot of fun. I think, it's just a dumb 90s idea that works, and Donny Cates had clearly you can really see that Donny Cates had a lot of fun with that idea and just decided to fucking run with it. I think it's just a stupid idea, but it works. Of that, you know, Frank Castle went to hell, got turned into a Ghost Rider, went crazy after a couple hundred years, then met Galactus and got turned into the Herald of Galactus and taught him how to use guns and whatnot. It's so stupid, it shouldn't work, but it does. And your final question is, favorite Ghost Rider-centered story? Well, the problem is there aren't a lot of good Ghost Rider stories. Ghost Rider's just cool as a cool figure. But if I was to have to really pick one, I would say one of the best Ghost Rider stories is Hearts of Darkness, which had him team up with Wolverine and Punisher in like these in this standalone little prestige issue. And they had to fight Blackheart, who was trying to convince them to kill Mephisto for him. There's also a really good Captain America Ghost Rider one involving the Scarecrow. Not DC Scarecrow, there was a Marvel Scarecrow who was a Captain America and Ghost Rider villain. So there you go. There aren't a lot of good Ghost Rider stories. I'm surprised we've never gotten a Ghost Rider-centric event that wasn't, you know... It's not technically a Ghost Rider event because it was the formation of the Midnight Suns, so I can't really pick that one, but yeah. So, thank you for those questions, Jason. Moving on now to Tom Hibbert, who asks, we all know Marvel has made some anime series based on superheroes, but what would you do if you could make a Ghost Rider anime? If I could make a Ghost Rider anime, again, I'm shocked we never got a Ghost Rider anime. I'm genuinely shocked that we never got a Ghost Rider anime from when they're doing the Marvel anime. You know, when they were doing Blade, Wolverine, X-Men, and Iron Man. I'm shocked we never, like, Ghost Rider wasn't in that running. It made no sense to me that Ghost Rider never got an anime. But I digress. How I would do a Ghost Rider anime is probably make it more of a horror-based story, more of it's a monster in the shadows kind of thing, where Ghost Rider is kind of like the punishment for some of these people, almost like a Tales from the Crypt thing, where Ghost Rider is kind of like someone you hear about in like Hush, in hushed rooms or ghost stories or something. Make it scary. That's what I would do. First and foremost, make it scary. Second question, if you had any Ghost Rider to use the penance stare on any villain outside of Marvel, who would it be and why? Oh, it would be Bellows. It'd be Bellows from Owl House. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It would definitely be Bellows who would be getting the old penance stare. And yeah, absolutely him. Like, he comes to mind first and foremost. Second question, and your third and final question is, what stories would you recommend to get into Ghost Rider? The problem is there isn't a, like I said in the previous question from Jason, there aren't a lot of good Ghost Rider stories to really recommend you. Jason Aaron's Ghost Rider's alright. I would say, though, pick up the Epic collections of Ghost Rider that are coming out that cover a lot of stories. So if you can find the Marvel Epic collections, they are a little expensive, but they do give you tons of issues. Sadly, we've never really gotten a definitive, like, Ghost Rider event or the seminal Ghost Rider story. Ghost Rider's just a cool character. That's really what it is. Let's think of those questions, Tom. Moving on to the Mount Vernon kid. Hey, what's up, Chris? First question: what's a Ghost Rider you'd like to know more about? Well, I would like to know more about Robbie Reyes. I don't really have a lot of Robbie. I don't really have a lot of Ghost Rider outside of single issues I got of Dan Ketch. But Robbie would be cool. Robbie would be a cool one. He never gets a fair shake. So, yeah, he never gets a fair shake. So I don't like. The problem is there's so many comics of him, but they're not. I've heard nothing spectacular about them. Having said that, though, I can't wait to read the. I would love to read the current Johnny Blaze book, which I know you're sending. So thanks in advance for that, Chris. But yeah, probably if I was to pick one, I'd say Reyes. But there's a question that kind of answers that kind of answers what I'm about to say. So I'll get to that in a bit. How would you do? Second question: how would you do a Ghost Rider Etrigan the Demon book? How I would do a Ghost Rider Etrigan crossover from a good old Marvel DC crossover. Oh boy. I think what I would do for this crossover is I would have it that probably have Morgan Le Fay as the villain. Like, maybe have it that long ago Morgan battled a medieval Ghost Rider, and Etrigan and Jason Blood, who were still under Merlin's services, did battle with her, and now she's come back. And Morgan Le Fay is a villain for both Marvel and DC villains. So I'd say, the Morgan Le Fay we've been dealing with in this crossover Earth is the same Morgan Le Fay for both, but now she's working with Mephisto. Something right off the bat, maybe have that kind of story. I think that would be a lot of fun. So, thank you for that question. And your third question is, how did you feel when it was revealed that Johnny and Dan were actually brothers? I mean, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's a little contrived, don't you think? It's just a wee bit contrived for an actual story, right? When you first get that reveal of, Johnny Blaze and Dan Ketch are actually, siblings, you're like, oh, okay, that feels a little contrived, and it didn't really feel earned, but sure, whatever. And they never do anything with Dan and John anymore. I mean, they've tried a few times, but really, I don't know. I mean, do I like it now? Yes, but when you first read that, and you gotta understand, I didn't know that from reading the comics. I was too young to be reading the comics when that was announced with Ghost Rider. The only way I knew about it was that it got revealed through a Marvel encyclopedia for Marvel Knights. I got at the library, and then I was like, oh, they're brothers? Okay. That was kind of my reaction. So thank you for those questions, Chris. Thank you so much, brother. Moving on now to Gordon Rajani, who asks, do you think Nick Cage would have been a good Johnny Blaze in a better movie? I mean, you can't cage the Nick Cage. You can't rage the cage. I'm not gonna do that voice. I think he's a good Ghost Rider. Is he could we have found someone better? Yeah. Do I definitely think we could, do I think we'll probably get Nick Cage in the MCU? I know he said, no, I'm Nick Cage, I don't need to be in the MCU, but money talks. I think he could have been good, but he's just, the problem is, you're not seeing Johnny Blaze, you're seeing Nick Cage. Playing Nick Cage on a motorcycle. That's what you're dealing with here, especially in this day and age. So, I mean, I like Nick Cage as Johnny Blaze, but like we can find someone better if that answers your question. Second question: if you had to have to do an Acts of Vengeance scenario with Ghost Rider, which villain would you pair him up against? It's kind of funny because I don't think Ghost Rider was an Acts of Vengeance. I don't think he even had a tie-in to Acts of Vengeance in any way. So, who would I pit in the Marvel Universe against the Ghost Rider? Let me consult with my water. I would say probably someone not magic-based. That would be my first thing, is that not have a magic-based villain go after Ghost Rider. It would be probably someone more based around science, or someone more based around tech. Maybe like an Iron Man villain would probably be kind of cool. Like, I know Mandarin was dealing with the X-Men in that event, but I would say maybe... it would be kind of cool to see Living Laser fight Ghost Rider. I know he's not a tech villain, but he's an energy-based villain, so he could probably withstand the hellfire Johnny throws at him, and also be able to catch up to him no matter how fast Ghost Rider puts his motorcycle up. No matter how fast Johnny drives on his motorcycle, like Laser can catch up to him. Maybe that'd be kind of cool. And your third question is, did you ever play the Ghost Rider game that came out on PS2? No, I did not. I was unable to, but I never heard anything good about it. I never heard anything good from that game. But anyway, thank you for those questions, Gordon. Moving on now to Bill McLaughlin, who asks, do you think Ghost Rider was a good match for the Flash in the Amalgam universe for Speed Demon? I mean, they kind of mixed him with Etrigan, too. I would have put Ghost Rider with Johnny Blaze, personally, but I get it. Speed Demon, it's such a great play on word. I'm surprised they didn't put Flash with Quicksilver, but whatever. I would have put Ghost Rider with John Constantine or Deadman and call it Dead Rider or some dumb shit like that, because... let's be real, the whole Amalgam universe is dumb as shit. But it's fun dumb. But mostly dumb. So yeah. Second question, who is your favorite Ghost Rider? This was what I was referring to when I was talking about Chris's questions. So, my favorite Ghost Rider is Dan Ketch. My favorite Ghost Rider is Dan Ketch. I know that's kind of a basic answer, but and I know he's a very 90s character. That's what we got to get out of the way, is that he's a very 90s character, but still, he's still that's the character I associate with Ghost Rider. I like Johnny Blaze, I really do, and I really want to read more comics of him, but Dan is always my Ghost Rider. Dan was the first, when I was reading Ghost Rider comics, that was the Ghost Rider I was reading. And that's that's a character when I think of Ghost Rider, I think of Dan Ketch. Not to disrespect the other Ghost Riders, but that's just personally my Ghost Rider. Anyway, so thank you for that question. And your third one is, which Ghost Rider villain do you feel is underrated? All of them. If your name isn't Mephisto or Blackheart, you can get the fuck out. Ghost Rider villains are very few and far between, and when they are, no one gives a shit about them, unless, like I said, it's either Mephisto or Blackheart, and that's it. Literally, no one else. To answer your question, fucking all, unless you're Jason Aaron and you give a shit about the orb. Yeah, for some reason, Jason Aaron has a weird obsession with the orb, so... yeah, unless your name isn't Jason Aaron and you love the orb, or, unless you're Mephisto or Blackheart, no one gives a shit about you. No one gives a shit about Blackout, or Next Wave, or or Scarecrow, or all these other villains. So to answer your question, 90% of them. Or, Blackout, or Deathwatch, or all of them. So, thank you for those questions, Bill. Moving on now to David Deister, who asks, if you could do a Ghost Rider Nightmare on Elm Street crossover, what would the story be like? Well, David, if you want me to do a full-on story, you can always send me the Patreon request. But I guess, like, right off the top of my head, I would say, like, how I would do it is that have Nightmare involved, and maybe have Freddy like Nightmare uses Freddy to attack like Johnny or Dan or whichever Ghost Rider you want to use for this in their dreams. Maybe something like that. Second question. Thank you for that question. Your second question is, what ranking would you give each Ghost Rider? I like all the Ghost Riders, and the thing is, I haven't read a lot with the Spirit Rider, so I can't really rank her. And the other female Ghost Rider, I've read nothing of her. That's another character I would like to read. I completely forgot about the female Ghost Rider. I think her name was Aja or something, but I would love to read more of her, so I completely forgot about that character. So yeah, I would say, like, for me, it's Dan, Johnny, the other Ghost Riders. Not to disrespect, like, Vengeance or, Michael Bandolio as, when he was Ghost Rider for a hot minute, and the Spirit Rider, or the other female Ghost Rider. Or like I said, Robbie Reyes. Robbie I would probably put at, like, third place, but, like, yeah, I haven't really read a lot of them because I'm very attached to Johnny and Dan. Not to sound like a Ghost Rider purist, it's just, when I think of Ghost Rider, I think of them. But anyway, thank you for those questions, David. Moving on now to Alistair Boneman, who asks, what are your thoughts about my boy Robbie Reyes, and why does he get no love? Well, like I said, I don't hate Robbie as a character. I actually kind of like him, I just haven't read a lot with him, and the stories I have read aren't really that appealing. So I think it may be something to do with writing, and also, like I said earlier throughout this video, is that everyone associates Robbie Reyes, everyone associates when you think Ghost Rider, you think a motorcycle flamehead demon, not the other guy, not a guy in a lowrider with the skull looking like a helmet. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Second question. As we've seen with Robbie's uncle, Eli Morrow, other spiritual entities can survive as Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, opening the door to being that don't have to be angelic or demonic in origin. What other kinds of entities would you like to see empower their own spirits of vengeance, voodoo, eldritch, cosmic horror, that kind of thing? I think it'd be kind of cool, like, maybe that'd actually be a pretty cool Ghost Rider story where the Ghost Riders discover that other, like, religions have their own versions of Ghost Riders. Like, there's a voodoo Ghost Rider who works for Baron Samedi, who is the voodoo god of death. I would say, like, maybe there is an African god version of the Ghost Rider, maybe even a that kind of idea would be pretty cool. I would love to see that. Like a cosmic horror Ghost Rider. Instead of flames, it's like a tentacle head or something. That'd be neat. And Alistair, your third and final question is, with the tendency of the main Ghost Riders fighting demonic villains, if you were given a chance to create a villain for each of the main Ghost Riders, Slade, Johnny, Daniel, Robbie, and the girl one, whose name escapes, don't worry, me too, what kind of villains would you create for each of them, given... I'm not gonna go... I'm kind of crunched for time, so I can't really think of that right now. But I will say that what I'd like to do with a Ghost Rider villain, if I could make one, is more of a science-based one. I would love to have Ghost Rider take on... Like, I know he's always known for demons and whatnot, and he's got a lot of them, but I would like to go against the grain and give Johnny a villain, Johnny or Dan, a villain who's more like science mixed with magic, and see how dangerous that is. So that'd be kind of cool. Anyway, thank you for that question, Alistair. Moving on now to Cyborg 19.99. And first question is, how would John Constantine react to Ghost Rider? Probably be like, he'd be like, I've seen uglier. Fucking cunt. Your motorcycle's shite. Just flick the cigar in his face, like flick the cigarette in his face or some shit like that. That's the genuine reaction. Second question, which anime, cartoon, and video game would you like to cross over with Ghost Rider? I would like to, like, I would say, like, if I was to pick, like, any of those, I would say, like, Hellsing would be pretty cool. A Hellsing Ghost Rider crossover would be pretty neat. I would also like to see, like, maybe Ghost Rider in the Far Cry universe. I don't know why. I would just like to see a Ghost Rider just tear people apart limb from limb in the Far Cry continuity or something like that. So, yeah. Cartoon-wise, maybe Gravity Falls, just off the top of my head. Anyway, third question. What DC villain could you see as being part of Ghost Rider's Rogues Gallery? What DC villains could I see as a Ghost Rider villain? Oh, boy. I would say, like, one villain that comes to mind is... one villain that comes to mind is maybe... Brother Midnight. Brother Midnight would be pretty cool. He's one of John Constantine's enemies / allies. He uses voodoo magic. I think he'd be pretty cool as a villain for Ghost Rider. Another one I would say is Felix Faust, another dark sorcerer. So a few villains. Those are a few villains that come to mind. But other than that, thank you for that question. Thank you for those questions, Alistair. Moving on now to Hunter Johnson, who asks, if Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider ended up in the Boiling Isles, could he blend in, and what would lead him to a fight with Bellas with the pen and stare? It wouldn't take much. Like, Johnny would just walk around and just be like, I know who I'm going to punish, and just take the motorcycle, just bust his way through it, and just pen and stare him to death. That's how I see it. Like, there's no other way around it. Second question. What would a crossover between Ghost Rider and Gargoyles look like? I would say maybe Ghost Rider is captured by Xanatos and he wants to use the spirit of Zarathos, the spirit of vengeance, to help him with immortality or something. I don't know. Like, that's the best I could come up with. But thank you for those question. Thank you for that question. And your third question, Hunter, is what do you think these non-comic characters would do if they got the power of Ghost Rider? Ash Ketchum, Steve from the Owl House, Steven Universe, Marco, Sasha, Waybright, Tuxedo Mask, Brooklyn, and Raphael. Probably nothing good, especially if, like, Raphael got to be Ghost Rider. I think that would end very poorly, and also very hilariously, of the idea of having a turtle driver, like a burning turtle skeleton, driving at you at high speeds. I think that would be pretty funny. But also, it probably wouldn't end well for you either. So, thank you for those questions, guys. I'd like to thank everyone for sending me questions for this Q&A. And like I said earlier, if you guys are interested in joining these Q&As, just hit the link below. Head on over to my Patreon where you guys can get the second tier. That allows you to, whenever I do another Q&A for a character or subject in general, you guys can start sending me requests for... You guys can start sending me questions there whenever I post a Q&A prelude. And it also lets you get access to the videos that are exclusive to Patreon, as well as other stuff from the first tier as well. But yeah, once again, I'd like to thank everyone who sent me questions. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad I got to have time to do this. But yeah, other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.